When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people. You're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
Remember that? It was a fun little throwback to when he willfully allowed more people to get sick and die in COVID. But it is actually a stance of his that has maintained to the current day that he does not want data that he does not like. And so you might recall that just a few days ago, he fired the Commissioner of Labor Statistics after they provided weaker than expected jobs figures. But that is not the only way that he is trying to stop data from coming out that could potentially hurt him or his rich buddies. And this is a story that's not going to be reported nearly as widely, but it is very important, arguably more important. And so he has apparently asked NASA employees to draw up plans to end at least 2 major satellite missions. If the plans are carried out, one of the missions would be permanently terminated because the satellite would burn up in the atmosphere. The other wouldn't burn up. It's attached to the ISS, but they would stop using it. In fact, they would allow a private company to take it over rather than the government continuing to gain data from that satellite. So why would you want to stop these 2 satellites? Well, he doesn't like the data that they collect, or at least corporations and wealthy donors don't like the data that it's collected. So basically, it's designed to monitor planet warming greenhouse gases. So emissions of things like carbon and stuff like that. It can take a look and it can figure out how much is being generated. And it's very important, by the way. The US Department of Agriculture currently uses the data to forecast and track crop yield, drought conditions, and more, as in addition to just the carbon stuff. But they don't want that because that information shows where more carbon is being emitted. It potentially shows where particular corporations are emitting carbon. And the data that it provides could be used by scientists or by policymakers to limit those sorts of emissions in the future. And so they're just gonna kill it. And it's not just like pro-ignorance, anti-science, doing something about climate change. It's also financially stupid. The 2 missions cost about $750 million to design, build, and launch. Now, though, it only costs about $15 million per year to run them. That's about 1.5 Donald Trump weekend golf trips for a year of operating these 2 satellites. But they're just gonna burn them up. And likely when we get a sane president back in office, we're gonna have to again spend the better part of $1 billion to put them up there. But this is our president. This is the effect he's having on our ability to know what's actually going on with our planet.